Hello, everybody, and a very, very good evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. So very, very nice to have you here for our now 18th episode of the Reiki Revolution Live. And it's just amazing to see so many people, to read the comments, to see who is there and who is here so regularly. And it's just absolutely amazing. A very, very warm welcome also to everybody who will watch a replay. The vast majority of the viewers, listeners are logging on later. And the most amazing thing is that the feedback is the same in terms of the energy that people feel when they do the exercises and the Reiki share. It's just absolutely extraordinary. And a very, very particularly warm welcome to the Reiki Master students on my current Reiki Master course, which is happening in London this week for 5 days at the moment. And I know that quite a few are watching at the moment. So hello, everybody. It's so amazing to see how things open up, how things develop, the feedback after a master attunement. And over the week, we are learning how to attune people, how to teach Reiki. It's just amazing to bring Reiki into the world. And yes, thank you so much. Hello back to the Reiki Masterclass. So it's just amazing to have you all here. Reiki is amazing. And I don't really want to share too much now, but all I can say is the Reiki survey we are doing is just unbelievable in 2 ways. It's very simple questions, but the questions are not about how people feel after a Reiki treatment, but how people feel and change after learning Reiki, after Reiki 1, Reiki 2, or a master course. So we have proper, reliable data very, very soon about the before and after. And of course, it's completely anonymized. So nobody has to live with the fear that anybody, including myself, can check or trace who is putting what answers in. So that, of course, makes it very, very open. And no data can be traced back. And so far, almost 900 people took part in that survey. It's still open until the weekend, and let's see if we are able to get to the 1,000, which would be incredible. But any number around what we have already is statistically absolutely significant. It's proper, scientifically reliable data that we can share, that we can learn from, and it's just absolutely amazing what is coming out there. So I'm not going to tell anything. I'm going to do that next week. That's the topic of next week's show. As far as I am aware, first major survey that tries to understand how people change, or if people change indeed, after learning Reiki, in which way. And it's absolutely incredible. And it does fluctuate. So for some people, it's more this, for some people, it's more that. It gives us an incredible overview of what learning Reiki can do. Of course, it's wonderful to give Reiki treatments. It's beautiful to see the feedback. It's fantastic to see the before and after and to help people. But this, in most cases, is connected with one particular problem, and often with a temporary problem. So hopefully it will be sorted, and hopefully it will be sorted for a long time or even forever, or at least it will help with a condition. But the big life changes tend to occur, and this is only talking from my very personal experience and from that of the students I had the privilege to to learn from and to get feedback from. The big changes really tend to happen when people learn Reiki. So to understand what is really important in the process and where the changes happen, of course, will help in the future to fine-tune also Reiki courses, Reiki teachings, or other Reiki offerings. And that is just fantastic to see this and to basically see this live I'm just addicted at the moment. Every few hours, I go into SurveyMonkey and check how many new people have signed up, or not rather signed up, have filled out the survey. So this is all going to happen next week to look at that, interpret that, and also see how that can influence the future of Reiki teaching. And one of the questions in there was indeed, if you have pets, or if people around you have pets, have they benefited from Reiki? And the answers are very encouraging. So I can tell you that already. And that really leads me to the topic of today, which is Reiki and pets, Reiki and animals, using Reiki to establish or deepen a relationship with our dogs, our cats, any animals really. And I'm very, very pleased to have a specialist as my guest today. So I'm going to put you on. Hello, Ali.
Hello, Torsten. Thank you for having
Wonderful. Wonderful having you here. It's so exciting. And not only Ali is here, but goodness gracious me, now Ludo?
Ludo, that's right.
Ludo,
yes.
So we can see Ludo in the background, her wonderful 5-year-old dog?
He's 5. 5-year-old boxer. Yeah.
Pardon?
He's a 5-year-old boxer.
Boxer. Yeah. It's so sweet. I can just about see him. And we had a brief chat before the show, and it was so beautiful. He noticed once the name was coming up, they were talking about him, and he was moving around. So it's just so wonderful to have you both here. Let me just briefly introduce you. So Ali Carrington is an animal Reiki and canine behavior teacher based in London and the southeast of the UK. She's also a rescue dog volunteer and canine happiness advocate, dedicated to helping humans be the person their dog needs them to be. That would be interesting to talk about in a moment, where the change needs to happen, because we tend to basically want to change our dog. And you seem to say that we need to change for the dog to really understand us. But we will go there in a moment. It's very, very exciting. Ali teaches a calming, joyful, and respectful approach towards dogs and all animals via online programs, as well as in-person practical workshops at local sanctuaries, with course proceeds going to welfare of the animals. And she has a website called calmkindhappy.co.uk. And of course, given that you do a lot of coaching and teaching online, people can reach you from all over the world. So amazing to have you here, Ali. And of course, we have a history that goes back a little bit, because I trained you in Reiki.
Yeah, absolutely.
You learned Reiki elsewhere as well, but we spent time together at the courses, at the master course, and it's just so wonderful to have you here and to see you in your element of working with and teaching how to deal with primarily dogs.
Oh, thank you. Yes, you were my introduction to Reiki, Torsten. Absolutely.
Oh,
yeah.
How fabulous. Very, very, very pleased. And it's moving on at the moment at the master course. There is a lady who you introduced then to Reiki, and now she's becoming a Reiki master. So this is really the ripple effect. It goes on and on and on, and it goes on because we are just so excited about Reiki. It's just incredible. So how did you start with Reiki? Why did you learn Reiki yourself?
Well, that was because of a beautiful, big old rescue dog. This is Kenny. Okay. And he's also a boxer. You can see I've got a bit of a passion for boxers. And Kenny turned up in a period of time post-corporate life. I had a fitness and well-being business, and I was also working as a dog behavior coach. However, I'd been suffering from a chronic mystery illness, but I wasn't quite ready to accept that. Although I was finding work and social life and generally being out of the home more and more difficult, I wasn't quite ready to accept that it was happening to me. And so it certainly wasn't that we needed anything more to add to our lives. It's just that I saw a photo of him and I couldn't stop thinking about him. He was a 10-year-old boxer. He'd been taken to kennels very late in life. His family could no longer cope with him. They said he had dementia and that he was peeing all over the house. And while he was in kennels, his health really deteriorated. So by the time we met, he was so skinny, emaciated really. He was in a really bad way. So we thought we would offer him a home for his final few weeks of life.
Wow. Wow.
But that's not what happened. He rallied. He clearly wasn't ready to simply pass away. And his health started to really improve. In terms of his behavior, he was really challenging. He was so anxious, he couldn't be left. But equally, he couldn't cope with outdoor life. And so little by little, by having to understand life through his eyes, he just taught me so much about life and how it could be lived. It was almost like he was trying to teach me what was happening to me as well, that we didn't have to keep rushing, to keep trying, to keep pushing. He taught me that if you're not feeling great, that's okay. You don't have to pretend that you're okay. He also taught me that I could say no, which was actually quite a big deal, because I was starting to say no to look after him. And then I realized, I can say no for somebody else, but I can't say no for myself. So that was quite an interesting learning. But there's loads of things that Kenny taught me over the next 3.5 years he lasted.
Wow.
And yeah, you could say he was my first Reiki master just prior to you, Torsten. But later on, though, so he was a good age, about 13. He got ill, and we ran out of veterinary medical options. And actually, it was a dog behavior colleague of mine from America, Rebecca Trono. She suggested Reiki. And I just thought, well, what have I got to lose? So I found a local lady to come and visit us. And not only did he relax in her presence very quickly, which was really unusual, but after her visit, there was a marked improvement in his health because he'd been vomiting daily. After Reiki, one session of Reiki, he didn't vomit for another 10 days.
Wow.
So, of course, I was hooked. And I thought, well, I could organize more Reiki sessions for Kenny, or I could learn it myself. And when I Googled it, there was a place on your level 1, and you were just over the river from where we lived at the time in Chiswick. So
what an amazing story. It's incredible. So you primarily did it for your dog?
Yeah, absolutely. It was like I think he was sent. It was like he brought Reiki to me deliberately. That I needed to slow down and learn to slow down, and learn that was all right, and learn how to heal myself.
Did Reiki then play a part in your own healing journey? As well?
Absolutely it did. Because it was, for me, it was about understanding a level of actually chronic anxiety that I just didn't know that I had. And it's only in that still point that you get to, as you're practicing your Reiki, that you realize, oh, hang on a minute, what is that? Oh, feels like anxiety. And then that was, one of the stages in understanding what was going on. Yeah.
Well, what an incredible story. So, that's absolutely incredible. So you are a dog behavior specialist, and you train people in understanding their dogs better and taking a different approach.
Yes, so absolutely. So I don't describe myself as a dog trainer, although actually places like Facebook will, because they don't have
Right.
the right appropriate title.
Okay.
Yes, it's not about training a dog. Actually, I come from the different angle. It's about understanding what a dog needs and being able to provide it for them. And once you know, it's pretty easy. We can all do this. There's nothing too difficult about it. There are a few things that might come as a surprise, which I can talk a little bit about later. But we can all do these simple rituals. Canines are quite ritualistic in the way they live, and that's what I really love to talk to people about, is that they will understand when you behave like this, or you manage life like this. And once they understand us, they calm down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So since you then learned Reiki primarily to help your dog in terms of giving Reiki sessions, did that also influence then your dog behavioral teaching, therapy, coaching?
Absolutely. Yeah, it really did. Because I had already been volunteering with rescue dog organizations, offering behavioral advice, actually. But then with Reiki, I had an additional tool. So when I was asked to behaviorally assess a dog who had just been brought into shelter, now I always began with Reiki. So just sitting, sometimes outside the kennel, sometimes inside the kennel, just practicing Reiki and sharing the Reiki space with whomever it was, and often, the whole row of kennels, actually. Because most dogs are in survival mode when they're first dropped off at Reiki. So actually testing them behaviorally is not going to achieve very much aside from putting them under pressure, which is never a good idea. So I would just sit, offer peace, harmony, invite them to come closer if they wanted, invite them to be touched, but only if they ever wanted to be touched. Some of these dogs have never had trust in humans before. And that's not just because they've been physically harmed, although that is sadly the case for many, but also just in terms of having a human that they find safe and secure and balanced in their energy. So Reiki became my first kind of assessment. And then when they did have a level of trust, we could investigate other areas of their personality and behavior without putting any pressure on them. And all of those dogs.
You say you offer them Reiki. So how does that actually work? So you don't go there and place your hands on them and say, I give you Reiki now. You kind of do more the opposite.
I think that's one of the things that I teach quite strongly, actually, because if you did that to a dog that you didn't know, you might end up with only one hand left, So we need to know how to stay safe when we're working with animals. And one of the things we must do is just not approach. Actually, we stay where we are and we allow them to come to us. We invite them to come to us. So when I say I use offering Reiki for two reasons. One because yes, I invite them to come to me, and it's not always about the hands. Actually, it's about being Reiki ourselves. Dogs are so sensitive. They know, they can tell what.
So they sense the state you're in. They sense the connection, the calmness, the Reiki, and then they are attracted and start finding trust.
Yes, absolutely. And I also, in my experience, I just assume that all dogs are already Reiki. They're already Reiki masters, like I kind of said about Kenny. They already know this. So who's Reikiing who? Actually, I think it's a mutual benefit when we're with animals. I think it's a share, actually. That's how I see it. It's a Reiki share rather than, I will do you Reiki.
Well, it's an incredible healing presence to be with a dog, or basically with an animal. And once we open up to that, and once we sense their love, affection, understanding. And for me, it was fascinating. I many, many years ago from my ex-partner, I kind of inherited 2 mini Yorkshire Terriers, and I didn't really know much what to do with them, but I just over time fell so in love with them that in the end I was left with them, and they were not terribly interested, primarily in food and their comfort. But as soon as I felt sad, down, frustrated, they noticed straight away. And they would snuggle up. Even the frosty one, who really didn't want much to do with me, as soon as she realized there was something not quite right, she would come straight away. And it was during a really, really difficult time of my bankruptcy. And I sometimes wonder how I would have coped without the dogs. It's incredible what they can give.
It is incredible. Absolutely. I don't know whether, do you remember, I think it was on our Reiki Master course all those years ago. You may not remember. I was telling you about a spaniel called Ozzy. Does that ring any bells? I wondered if, I thought it might be I
definitely remember you telling amazing stories about dogs, and I've got the feeling there was one particular one, but
it's all I talk about. It's literally all I talk about is dogs. But I'd love to tell you about Ozzy, who is again a wonderful teacher. He was a very long-term dog in rescue. I think he'd been, when I first met Ozzy, he'd been in that kennels for about 7 years. And in fact, due to his food aggression and toy aggression, the rescue had kind of accepted that he was unhomeable because he kept biting people and being returned. I just asked if it would be okay to sit with Ozzy and share Reiki with him. And so I was able to do that. And just as a tip for anybody who wants to do that, I made sure that the staff had removed any food, any toys from his kennel, because we knew that he had certain issues around that. So you just always got to make yourself safe. So I sat with Ozzy, and it was during one of the Beast from the Easts, you know, one of those really cold weather snaps. So snow all around. And I'd been fairly prepared, and I was wrapped up, and I brought something to sit on, and I invited Ozzy to come and join me on the blanket. But as probably most will know, kennels have concrete floors. And after a while of sharing a lovely Reiki session with Ozzy, who lay on his back for a bit, directing my hands to his tummy, and then he sat right in my lap, facing away from me. It was like he was also meditating with me. I had offered my hands to him, and he'd placed himself so that my hands were on his back. He'd sort of backed into me.
Wow.
But after a few minutes, I was really getting cold. And after a few more minutes, I just couldn't feel my hands anymore. I certainly no longer felt any warmth in my palms. And I thought to myself, oh, I'm so cold. Is there any point to this anymore? Is Reiki even working? And immediately, as that thought crossed my mind, Ozzy stood up, he turned around, gave me a little wag. He went to one hand, sniffed it. He went to the other hand, sniffed it, looked at me again, little wag again, and then he returned to his seated position, facing away from me again, looking like a little furry Buddha. And I mean, that's amazing. So despite the cold, I just took that to mean, yes, it's working. Come on, let's go. You know, focus. It was like he was teaching me, don't worry about the cold, focus. Yeah, so there you go. Ozzy, the old long-term rescue spaniel, another Reiki master. And actually, I found Reiki to be helpful in that kind of rescue scenario, because as a team, with the kennel staff, the excellent rescue organization, and the next wonderful family, Ozzy was actually able to find his forever home and live his last few years with a family. So Reiki often helps the situation for these shelter animals, as well as providing the comfort and the healing.
Is that something that is quite widespread now, that Reiki practitioners offer their voluntary services to animal shelters and go in there? Or is that just a few here and there?
I think it's more a few here and there. I'm connected with the Shelter Animal Reiki Association, which you know, it's the
Okay.
it says its name on the tin, whatever that
Mhm.
phrase is. But they're mostly American based. So it would be wonderful if we could, you know, have more of a participation like that here, actually.
That sounds great, but also many people who take part in the weekly shows here and watch are based in the States. So that's absolutely brilliant. So please take that as an inspiration and see if you can find, maybe if you are interested in doing such work, a way to support that. So it's the Animal Shelter.
It's the Shelter Animal Reiki Association.
Shelter Animal Reiki Association. So just Google that and do have a look. How absolutely wonderful. So when we have a dog, I mean, after I went from one extreme to the other. So after these two little tiny furry ones, I went all in the other direction and got a greyhound, and I had absolutely no idea what greyhounds are like. I just saw once a greyhound standing in the middle of the road, and all the traffic had stopped, and the tail was right between the legs, and I'd never seen such a lovely creature that needed so much love and care. So for the next 10 years, I tried to give as much love and care as I could to my greyhound, but I sure I could have done with some of your advice how to deal better. She was very anxious, and I'm sure there must have been some traumatic experiences early in her life. So how do you approach that as a dog owner? How do you get closer and establish a more understanding relationship?
Well, firstly, I met Lady, and oh, she was beautiful. What a beautiful, beautiful girl. Yeah, so I think there's three things that I would suggest that we can all consider to help our animals relax with us and cope with life, actually, which then inevitably deepens our bond. Firstly, it's really important we do what we can to understand the species we're with. It's very beautiful to know that we are all one and we can all connect on a spiritual level. I love that. But if we take dogs, for example, just as we're spiritual beings having a human experience, dogs are spiritual beings having a canine experience. And this is really important. Our domestic dogs really need us to delve into how they see the world and how they understand what goes on around them. The worst thing we can do is treat them like humans, or teddy bears, actually, because I do work with the fallout of that as well. And things like too much eye contact or just loads of attention, the sorts of normal things we do as human beings with our friends and with our family. The thing is, eye contact and attention are understood very differently by dogs. And if we do that with them, we will find that they become anxious, they might become hyperactive, a little bit reactive, rather than calm and relaxed and responsive, trusting in us and our decisions. But when we've got that, and a few more sort of rituals that I teach in my courses, oh my gosh, the relationship is on another level. And it sounds daft, but I still marvel that I have an animal in the house, you know, living and cooperating with me, making me laugh, coming when I call him because he wants to be with me, and he's constantly teaching me. So that's the first thing. Secondly, it's critical in life and with Reiki with animals that we allow their consent to being touched. Really interesting one. It's a key concept for me, and one that connects what I teach in dog behavior and in animal Reiki. In fact, looking at the consent of the animals was a huge driving force for me to begin teaching.
I find that so fascinating, this idea, because of course we cannot just drag anybody from the road and just place our hands on them and give them Reiki in terms of humans, and need to explain what we are doing and get their consent. But of course we can't get a dog to sign a consent form. So how do you get their consent?
Yeah, it's a major deal because then they're non-verbal. So we have to allow them to show us in their body language. So the major tip in building trust and respect between ourselves and our animals is don't go towards them and touch them. And I know that's a bit surprising, because we are, as animal lovers, we want to look at them, we want to touch them. But it gives the dog, say, a chance to respond of their own free will. They get a choice to be touched or not touched if we stay where we are. It's like asking them hands on or hands off. So it's really the only way we'll ever know that an animal consents to being touched.
Right. So basically, you connect to Reiki, you offer Reiki, and they, of course, feel it. And then it's their decision whether they stay in a safe distance and you continue with Reiki, but hands off.
Yeah.
Or they come to you and snuggle up, or you're just confident, now I can reach out.
Exactly. They will show us, if they want to be touched, they will show us. I've got some lovely videos of my dogs demonstrating how they manage Reiki so perfectly. It's almost like they're in a car wash. I stay still and they move around. It's like, right, this side, and now this side, and now can you do that? And it's amazing. And actually, dogs are usually perfectly happy without being touched, despite what we want to do. But as long as we invite them and they come, then physical contact can be a really beautiful thing.
Right. Yes.
But yeah, so I often describe it, the difference with human Reiki, animal Reiki, is with humans, the practitioner is the one that is moving round the client. When it's with animals, the practitioner stays still and the animal has the choice to move in and out. And I think it's quite important because it will keep us safe, particularly with animals like dogs. You know, if they see us staying still, we are not threatening. If we move towards them, even a little bit, even with a little bit of eye contact, that can be very threatening to many dogs. So we do need to know these things. So I'm often saying to people, just don't go, just never go to them. Stay where you are. Allow them to relax in your presence. Allow them to understand you're being respectful in a canine way. And then if they're relaxed, you can call them over. And the thing is, if they politely decline by staying where they are, that's okay. Just get on with offering Reiki, with being Reiki, practicing, working on ourselves, so that we're a source of relaxation and harmony for the animals.
I find this so interesting what you say. I remember many, many years ago, I had a student, and my Reiki 1 courses are 2 days. So on the Saturday, I think it was a man, I'm not so sure. He said, I talked about, of course, animals will also notice things and react to the Reiki. They don't just need to get treatments, they will also notice that there is a change. So on the next day, when he came back to the second part of the course, he said it was just something absolutely extraordinary. The neighbor's cat, he never got on with. And she always avoided him. And as soon as he came home, the cat came straight over, purring, wanted to be stroked, and just didn't want to leave him. So they can feel what's going on there. So a treatment doesn't just need to be what we believe a treatment is normally, just completely focused and hands-on. Just being connected to Reiki and allowing them to sense this connection is already a treatment.
That's beautiful. That's a wonderful way of describing it, because actually that's leading to my third suggestion, which is basically being the rock for your animal, be their stability in this crazy world that, let's be honest, they haven't decided to be in. We've brought them into our human world. And so how do we get to be their rock? Well, we make sure we're diligent in our own Reiki practice. The more we practice Reiki, the more we practice being still, achieving that inner still point, the more we're able to radiate a beautiful energy and a healing space around us that animals can sense and can come and join. So I often talk about actually the joy. One of the joys in animal Reiki is the discovery of why being Reiki ourselves in life is animal Reiki, because this
So
is
when
what
you teach animal Reiki, is that a follow-up course from people have to have learned human Reiki before, or does that include human normal Reiki?
That's a good point. I'll do actually both. So if somebody would like to almost like convert their existing Reiki knowledge and just delve into animals, there's a course for them. But if somebody is an absolute beginner to Reiki, then I will do a longer period of time. I sort of what I've really enjoyed doing is teaching absolute beginners over a longer period, actually. And then we can meet at the end and do the in-person workshop, wherever that may be, often at the horse sanctuary near me. So 2 ways of doing it, I think.
Absolutely amazing. I love that. And I'm really, really pleased that we go so deep into that. A while ago, when I started working on this project of the Reiki Revolution and basically understanding what this entails, changing our self, basically it's all based on self-realization. The more we change, the more we realize we are a spiritual being, the more we make the world a better place. And we use Reiki to help us with that and to really understand ourselves. But in this process, I got a lot of information getting channeled through. And it was made no difference between incarnating as a human being and as an animal. Absolutely the same in terms of our development, our feelings, the experiences, and so. And it's absolutely fascinating to see that. And we often, as you say, come with the approach of, okay, so this is my dog. So my dog has to do this, and this is what I expect of a dog, or whatever, rather than understanding this is a creature, this is a beautiful being that has incarnated. And of course, I need to treat it with respect. I don't just need to be treated with respect as a dog owner, but as a dog owner, it's my responsibility to have the respect for my dog. And this is, I just love your approach. It's absolutely extraordinary, and it's very, it's very spiritual. It's very, very holistic.
I think the more you spend time with animals, it's a bit like we're becoming a bit more canine and stepping away from being human and busy, things to do, and actually step towards being canine, living in the moment. This is what dogs do, just for today. This is what dogs always do. So they're really easy to work with and study Reiki with.
Fantastic. I'm so pleased. This is absolutely exciting. I'm just looking at if there was anything else I wanted to ask, but I somehow feel we went much deeper than I ever thought we would get, talking about Reiki and animals, and just so amazing. I'm sure everybody absolutely loves that, who has a pet of a kind. But of course, it applies to every animal when we are outside, whether it's a bee, a bird, a beetle, a fish. It's the approach, it's the connection, it's connecting to Reiki and being able to therefore connecting more deeply with that being that we have in front of us. There is one question here. I'm just looking at comments and questions. Can you touch on equine Reiki, equine Reiki a bit?
Absolutely. There's a lovely horse sanctuary that's local to me, actually, where I do a lot of my in-person practical workshops. And yeah, wonderful. I mean, horses are often described as mirrors of our emotions. they will very easily show you if you've turned up with some kind of imbalance in your emotions. Oh, yeah. And I would say the same. I give the same guidance to my group who I turn up with, which is, let's just be here for a bit. Let's meditate. Let's introduce the horses to our energy before we, go up to them. And when we do move towards them, if they're in their stalls, then we go gently and we don't kind of rush up to them with big eye contact and with, Reiki hands. We're really very respectful and watching for their subtle feedback about what it is they do and they don't want. It's so interesting because with humans, it's a glorious feedback that you can be so exact with because you can talk about it. With animals, you just have to look for the subtleties in the tiny little movements they make in their faces or their ears. Yeah.
Right. There are a few more questions. I'm so glad I looked here. So there was one question. Do you have any experience with blind dogs? Is there a difference in offering Reiki to them?
I would say there is no difference, actually. And actually, they will probably be even more attuned to their other senses. When probably with all of us, but I've had a lot of experience with deaf dogs. And if they lose a sense, their other senses just, enhance.
Right.
So I imagine the blind dog in question will be, ready to help teach who the question askers a lot of Reiki.
Okay. And there's one other question. So we've very much spoken about the connection between humans and dogs. So how do you get dogs that are anxious about other dogs to relax?
Okay. So I would say I would always start behaviorally with that, because going back to what I mentioned about, they're spiritual beings, but they're having a canine experience. So that is something that we would go to understand why. And it's really common, and it is so normal for a dog who's a predator to be uncomfortable with another dog who is another predator. It is so normal. So if we can understand that and accept that, then first of all, it brings our heart rate down and our blood pressure down, and we can, exude a little bit more calm. But there's absolutely a number of things you can start to work on with reactivity towards other dogs. But if you think about it, their DNA tells them not to mix with families. There are no other animals on this planet apart from humans that go visiting other families, that let their children play with other families. If you don't, animals don't do that. So it's that's why I say it's very normal for predators to be very unhappy with other predators. But like I say, there's hope. There's plenty of things that you can do.
I'm sure if there are direct questions, you can answer them in your amazing online workshops and coaching programs. So everybody just have a look again at calmkindhappy.co.uk, and I assume this relates to both sides of the equation, to the human as well as the canine side.
Absolutely, it does, because it's a calm animal is a happy animal. And we use kindness to teach them whatever we need to teach them, and at the end of the day, we're all going to end up happy. That's the plan, anyway.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so very, very much for spending the time, for giving so much insight and sharing your love for treating animals with respect and wanting to understand the animal rather than wanting the animal to understand us. And this really is something that I'm taking away from it, which is absolutely fascinating. So thank you so very, very much. And what I would love to do now is to just do something slightly different tonight. I'm not sure whether we can do anything with an animal, or whether it's forcing anything. What I would suggest is that everybody who is on the show at present or later on should think of an animal around them. Whether it is a pigeon appearing regularly on their roof terrace, or it's a dog or a horse or somebody they own or they know of, and just use Reiki to not send them Reiki, but feel a connection. Just try to understand and establish what's going on there, which probably sounds a bit complicated, but let's just give that a try and see how that goes. So everybody on the show now or later, if you just want to think of an animal around you. Oh, I've got one now. At the moment, I don't have a dog myself, but I just thought of one myself. So just think of one and then just connect to Reiki. If you've learned the connection or distance symbol, just draw that symbol and set your intention to just connect with this being, to feel the connection, to just understand it better. And then just come back and thank Reiki. I really just got some very fascinating insight into the dog I was thinking about and what's going on there. So absolutely amazing. Is it possible that I heard Ludo just very gently kind of breathing in and out in the background?
I'm glad that you described it as very gentle breathing, because for me it's snoring.
This is fabulous. So obviously he is ultimately relaxed, which is so beautiful. Well, thank you once again for being here, for sharing, and for the final 10 minutes or so. Let's just once again have a human Reiki share and all join in and share Reiki together. So once again, thank you so much, Ali, and we'll just catch up later. And everybody on this share now, let's just get together and send Reiki to each other. It is so powerful. Today at the master course, we were having a Reiki share there as well. Part of the group was having their master attunement, while the other part was having share, and then we were swapping. And it is just pretty incredible to get Reiki from a number of people at the same time. And quite unbelievably, taking part in this Reiki share now means that we are not just receiving Reiki from everybody who is on there right now at this live broadcast, but also from everybody who will join in later, because this is how Reiki works. It's beyond time and space. So when you're ready, just once more, connect to Reiki. If you've learned it, use the connection symbol. And then set your intention to connect with everybody who is taking part in this Reiki share right now, or at a later stage in a replay, including yourself if you want to take part again and rewatch it. And just feel the connection with everybody. Feel Reiki streaming out of your hands, towards everyone. And then just also lean back and realize that you are receiving Reiki from everyone at the same time. The beauty of Reiki is that it's doing by non-doing. We're just facilitating healing. We're just channeling. And of course, we are getting it at the same time. And we are receiving it from everybody taking part in this Reiki share as well. Just allow yourself to receive the healing. Just relax. Let go of the stress. And then you can slowly come back into the here and now. Take a moment to thank Reiki and open your eyes again. Once again, thank you so much for taking part, for being here tonight, this morning, wherever you are in the world. It's just such a beautiful community that's forming. And please make sure that you join next week when we have a look at the results of the survey of the changes that Reiki may bring once we learn it ourselves. And if you have not taken part, please make sure you do. I'm just going to show you how. ReikiScienceAcademy.com/research. It's on that page, or on the homepage, ReikiScienceAcademy.com. You find in the upper right-hand corner a button as well. So it's very, very easy. It takes only 4 minutes, and it's a fantastic way to take part in this really, really important and helpful research program. So once more, it's wonderful that you're all here. Thank you for joining, and see you very soon. Bye-bye.